Okay. So that just happened. What's going on, everybody? Tonight was the night that the final Rick Grimes episode of The Walking Dead aired. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Andrew Lincoln is sadly has departed The Walking Dead, and they've been advertising it that Rick Grimes' final episodes, and tonight was his final one in The Walking Dead. And for anyone who don't know what episode this is my review for The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 5. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you do enjoy this review, and also just the discussions that we're going to have, because, oh my god, so much just happened, and I am here and about to just vent and talk to you guys, and I want y'all to do the same to me. I want to be here to help you guys get through this and help you get informed on what's going to happen in the future and what's really, what this means for The Walking Dead. So, yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoy. If you're a returning member or, viewer or subscriber, welcome back. If you don't already know, if you've forgotten, then in my TV reviews, I do spoilers. I used to not, and I kept saying the same thing every week, so I am just doing spoilers now, and you guys seem to really enjoy them, so here we go. So, this show, if you don't already know, stars Andrew Lincoln, Norman Reedus, Lauren Cohan, and Melissa McBride. And I'm guessing this is the last time I'm ever going to say this show stars Andrew Lincoln. He has been in this show since the very first episode and every episode since. So this is a big, this was a huge episode. Last week we saw him get impaled, get bugged off the horse and get impaled and start bleeding, kind of like how Joel got impaled in The Last of Us, if you played that. It's the same exact way with a pipe going through his side right here. And it's also the same place that he got shot, if I'm not mistaken, in the very beginning. So, yeah, this showed him leading the herd away even after, he got bugged off. He pulled himself off, and he was just bleeding out. And it's just his journey throughout and how he keeps going in and out of consciousness, and all the returning characters, because we had 3 characters return to this show. John Bernthal reprised his role as Shane, which he hasn't been in the show since season 2. Scott Wilson reprised his role as Herschel Green, who we all know sadly died in the mid-season finale of season 4 by the governor. And then Sasha Cohen? No. The woman that plays Sasha, she reprised her role as Sasha, and, she just died in 2 seasons ago, but in season 7. But, yeah, I really did love these characters coming and talking to him and helping him kind of move on, because in the beginning, we all know that he was looking and searching for his family, and then they, in this whole consciousness, he's looking for his family, and then he ends up realizing that his family is Michonne and Daryl and all these people that, from all the communities. But we also learn that he is just tired. His blood family and wife and stuff, they've died. Carl died in season 8. Lori died in season 3, and he's lost just about everything. And he has Judith, but they also just confirmed, in all honesty, that they confirmed when he saw Shane that Judith is Shane's, because even Rick knows it, because he's like, does she look like me? And he's like, well, she's got your nose. Well, he's like, yeah, at least she doesn't have my ears. Just something like that. And that, honestly, I do believe was the confirmation that Judith isn't Rick's. Granted, he loves her like his own, but in the back of his subconscious, she's not mine. She was my wife's and with my best friend, but she's not mine. So we have that whole going on. But at the same time, it's just him going in and out. He's sorry for the things that happened to Shane, and Shane was probably my favorite one to see back, because Shane was this asshole throughout the whole show, just about, that he was in it. And, he actually told Rick, I need you to get mad. I need to see that rage. You are the Rick that I always thought you could be. When you bit out that dude's throat, when you slashed that dude into pieces with a machete in the church. He just referenced some of the stuff that happened to Rick throughout the show. And that's the Rick that, I always kind of love to see up. I never really cared for the whole peaceful, we need to get together and sing Kumbaya, because that's just not practical. But I get it. But every little time, and I called him Psycho Rick. Every time Psycho Rick would come out, I loved it. Then you had him talking to Herschel, and Herschel is like, it's not your fault. You constantly put all this weight on you, and he kept saying throughout this season that I didn't ask for the leadership. I didn't ask to be in charge and have people look up to me. And honestly, I think that that's truly always bothered him. And the fact that every time someone's died, it's constantly on his shoulders, like, it's my fault. I could have done something different. I could have done something more. And you can't look at it like that. And that's constantly, I think, in the back of his mind. He's never really showed it. He has with some of them, but he's never showed it that, that's how he felt about it. So when Herschel told him that, it's not your fault, and Maggie is strong, and she's going to make it, and my grandson's going to make her stronger, then that is everything to Rick, and like kind of easing his mind. Because I honestly he was on the verge of dying. He was bleeding out. So, and then you have it when he saw Sasha, then he sees everyone dead in this like landfill type deal. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, he kept saying everyone as, no matter what I do, they're going to die. It's just nothing I can do. It's inevitable. And he kind of got into that mind state of, I just kind of want to see them happening. But at the same time, he also knew that he was on his way out, and that he was also kind of probably thinking that, with him gone, then everyone is going to eventually die and, just lose. So I don't really know. You can either take it either way. I want to say it's more towards, with the whole thing with Herschel, it's more towards, no matter what I do, they're going to die no matter what, whether I'm there or not. It's just that whole mentality, like, stuff like that. If I'm there, then they're going to die without, if they can't live without me. It's that. Hopefully you guys are understanding. I'm kind of just rambling. But, you had all that happen tonight. And then, yeah, and the key thing was wake up. You gotta wake up. Even when he was in the hospital and he saw himself in the hospital bed from the first episode, and then he opened up that door that has become like this huge meme and like icon for Walking Dead. Dead inside. Do not open. Dead inside. He finally opened up the door, and that's what led to that whole scene with Sasha. But yeah, so much with his character happened, but we have to talk about other things that happened in the show, and we'll get to what happened to Rick at the end. But yeah, I loved everything that had to do with Rick and his departure. Just about, actually not just about, I really did enjoy it. I thought everything was tastefully done, and yeah. But going back, we had Anne, and she actually called the helicopter back to her, and she was going to, kind of screw them over and get taken no matter what, because she wanted to get away. So we had that whole situation. Then we had, Maggie going to confront Negan, because she actually made it to Alexandria. And the whole, Michonne went to stop her, but then she ended up giving her the keys, because, Maggie made a point. If Negan had brutally murdered Rick right in front of you, would he still be alive right now? Could you live knowing that your boyfriend, the person you love's murderer, is sitting in a cell and you can do something about it, but you don't? So, Michonne ends up giving her the keys, and Maggie goes and confronts Negan. And, Negan kind of starts off with, like, I didn't used to enjoy killing, but I really did enjoy killing your husband. I got off on that shit, seeing me bashing his head and his eyes popping out of his head, that shit just rocked my world and shit like that, trying to antagonize her. And then she's like, get on your knees, and with the crowbar, he ends up getting on the knees, and then she's like, because he's staying back in the shadows, so she can't really see him. So then she's like, come into the light, and she ends up basically opening up the door. And when she did that shit, I knew that she wasn't going to kill him. I knew that she wasn't going to kill him to begin with, because Negan's just such a strong character. Even in the comics, I know they're kind of getting away from the comics, but they're not. But in the comics, he has so much more story to give, and I am really looking forward to his storyline moving forward. But the whole, when she saw him and he broke down and started crying and, like, just kill me, I want to be dead. She actually saw what Rick's whole plan was. Death is too easy for Negan. He would understand if death is just over and you don't get to, he's not around, but at the same time, he doesn't get justice. But a man like Negan, and I honestly think Rick knew this from the get-go, eventually, even when he kept saying, I'm going to kill you, he basically did kill Negan. He killed the version of Negan that was in charge and stuff. He took that away. And I do think that he was going to kill him, but later on he kind of realized, because, Rick was a cop, so he knew how to, he did a professionally trained, kind of what he does now, with having to read people, reading situations, not running and stuff like that, and fighting. So, that is everything that just happened. So, I think that he knew from the get-go, and once he got past all the rage and shit, that, a man like Negan, you have to take away everything he loves, the power, the bag, you have to strip him down, put him in a dark cell, and leave him there to fully and mentally break him, to make him, torture, suffer. Because death is just too easy, even for a man like Negan. And when Maggie saw him like that, it like clicked in her head and she actually understood it. And I honestly do think that she, kind of, understands why Rick did what he did. So I'm very curious to see how that all transpires, eventually. But I do know that Lauren Cohan is leaving the show. I don't quite know how, but I do know that is eventually going to happen, probably by the mid-season finale, I would say. But, yeah, so that all happened. And then, alright, so I don't think I'm missing anything in this episode, so we're going to go back to Rick. So Rick is leading the horde of zombies away, and he actually ends up coming back to the bridge, because the last time we see Michonne and Maggie, they're at the, they said there's some stuff going down at the campsite, so they're going to the campsite, and Rick eventually brings the herd to the bridge. And, because Daryl kept saying, it won't hold the herd, so we can just wash them away. Well, it actually does end up holding the herd. So there's this moment where, Rick kind of falls down right in front of the bridge, and he kind of goes back out of consciousness, and he sees all of them, show up and start fighting, and Michonne gets on, down on her knees and, like, holding, it's like, why I fell in love with you is because you were a fighter. Don't quit fighting. And he's like, y'all are my family. That's when he realized, because throughout the whole show with everyone, he's like, I gotta find my family. And right then, he's like, y'all are my family. So, all that was leading to that whole moment. But, of course, that was out of consciousness, and she said, you gotta wake up. So when he woke up, he went across the bridge, and he ends up blowing up the bridge. And everyone thinks that he's dead, because they just saw him, the explosion, and then everything, he was just gone. So they just, I think, assumed. We don't quite know yet, but yeah, that happened. So, and then you see Anne, who has the helicopter, and, like, she's on this riverbank and about to let it land and screw them over when she sees Rick on shore. So, and he's still alive. So she, talks them into taking him and her and helping them out. So he gets help, and he's on a helicopter. So Rick lived. And then, real quick, we see it goes to Dan Fogel's character, which I've been, hoping that he would show up. And also, one of the walkers talked, which is the introduction to the Whispers. So if you thought that, the walkers are evolving like the preview for the next 3 episodes says, they're not. It's the Whispers, who are a group in the comics that they come across, and so that's where they're leading the show next, which I'm very excited for. But back to Dan Fogel's character, we see him in a group of people with this being chased by walkers and getting surrounded, and then shooting starts happening, and path clears out, so they run towards the shooting, and there's a little girl there, and she has a pistol, I think, pistol, and she picks up a cowboy hat and she puts on. There's Carl's cowboy hat and Rick's, and she's like, "I'm Judith Grimes." So that right there, it did a time jump. It did another time jump at the end of this episode, and leading into whatever's coming next with Judith and everyone. So I don't know if we'll get flashbacks of how everyone responds to Rick dying, but Judith is going to become, because how I see it is, in the comics, Rick is alive and Carl is alive. Carl isn't a grown up. He is actually like 11, so that's about the age that Judith is when the time jump happens. So what I have a feeling they're going to be doing is they killed off Carl, they killed off Rick for The Walking Dead, and now Judith is going to become, moving forward, she's going to become the character that both of them are in the comics, or at least she's going to become Carl's character in the comics. So, because the whole point of it is she grew up in this world, and everything that's going to transpire, she is supposed to be ruthless. Now, whether or not, since she didn't see all the horrors that Carl had went through since he was, since it all started, whether or not that happens, I don't know, but it's possible. There's no telling what's happened throughout this time jump, because this is several years into the future. So, but I do think that she is the one that's going to form a relationship with Negan and get him out of the cell. I do think that she is the one that possibly is going to, kind of have a relation with the leader of the Whisperers, kid. Whether or not, because in the comics it's a daughter, so whether or not they make it a daughter or they make it a son, there's no telling, but they're going to do that probably, and it's possible that Judith is going to become a leader. There's so much possibility with, her character. Now, Michonne or Daryl, I don't know if they're going to make one of them into Rick's character, but I do think that Judith is going to take the place of Carl's character in the comics. So everything that moves forward that involves Carl in the comics with these every events that's about to transpire, I do think that she is going to be the main character. So I'm very excited to see where this all goes. I'm very excited for next week's episode and see how everything transpires, how everyone's dealing with Rick's death, how they move forward into the mid-season finale, because surprisingly this wasn't the mid-season finale. You would think that an episode like this it would be, but I'm glad that it wasn't, because it leaves still more time where we don't have to wait a couple months for it to pick back up. So, gladly that is going to, keep going for 3 more weeks, 3 more episodes, and then it'll be the mid-season finale, and then it'll pick back up in February. So, back to Rick, and because that's everything that, I think is going to go on in the future, and talking about the, recapping the show and everything. But with Rick, I read an interview that, this has kind of been in the works since season 4 of The Walking Dead. They were originally going to kill Rick off in season 8, which I'm glad that they didn't, because honestly, Rick always should survive the war with Negan, just because someone has to make sure, Negan lives. Now, I still do wish that, they kind of kept Carl alive, because I do think that there's so much they could do with his character. Like, if they, with Rick wanting to leave, or Andrew Lincoln wanting to leave, Carl could become Rick's character, and then Judith could become Carl's character in the comics, and it could be a really good dynamic. But obviously the showrunners have it planned, and I think that this plan has been in the works for a very long time, so it's nothing spur of the moment. Now, Andrew, the reason why he wanted to leave the show is because, he's in Atlanta, Georgia for 9 months out of the year and filming, and all his family and kids live up in England. So, with that being said, Scott M. Gimple's always wanted to expand this world. Now, he's talked about doing, like, miniseries and stuff, kind of like what they've talked about doing with Game of Thrones and everything, going back into the past, showing certain characters, showing certain events that they talk about for past and whatnot, doing a little mini series or to stuff like that. So he's talking about doing the same exact thing. Not so much new series, but like little mini series involving maybe like the Rise of the Governor, which is a book that Robert Kirkman like helped make and stuff. Kind of like how Robert Kirkman has done with his comic book. There's been like little side stories, games, mobile games, stuff like that that expand the Walking Dead universe for the comic books. So why can't the TV shows do that? They have The Walking Dead, then they have Fear, and now they're going to be doing 3 TV movies with Rick Grimes taking place right after this episode, and it's going to go between the timeline, like the time jump. Everything in the first movie and maybe the second and third one, I don't quite know, is going to be in the years that happens where the timeline happened to time jump happened. So from tonight's episode to the time jump, that's where the movies are going to take place. And I know that one of the showrunners are possibly wanting like him and Michonne to run into each other again. I don't see how that would work. Honestly, unless Andrew, that would be the reason why Andrew would come back to The Walking Dead and he'd come back onto the show. I don't quite know exactly how that would work, but I know that he was wanting out of The Walking Dead. Now, I understand why, because who wants to be away from their family for 9 months out of the year, especially when you have kids and you're missing all these important things in their life. So, I do understand why he wanted out, and I'm glad that I kind of wish that they would have killed off his character altogether, but at the same time, everyone on the show thinks that he's dead, and this gives them a way to continue out his storyline and, expand the universe even more. And I do think that maybe they might eventually go back and do like a little mini series of how the governor rose to power, like the book series that they did, stuff like that. You never know. He's talked about in interviews before wanting to do show past beloved characters and not so beloved characters and like their backstory and their origins and stuff like that. So yeah, you never know what they have in plan for The Walking Dead, but the movies I'm definitely interested in seeing. The only thing is if Rick, I think it's possible that they might make him have like amnesia or something because he, got blown up and he got thrown and went into the river, so he probably hit his head on something. They could write it like that, so that way he doesn't remember Carl, or he might remember Carl, but he wouldn't remember like Michonne and stuff like that, or any of them. And it might be like him trying to regain his memory or some shit like that. So there's no telling, but I know if he has his memory, then all he's going to be doing throughout those movies is wanting to get back home to Alexandria with Michonne and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to move about with Rick's character, but I do know that Andrew is done with the show for right now. If they don't kill him off in the 3rd movie or whatnot, then I hope that they do bring his character back, and they kind of left it open for that. But yeah, just know that Rick Grimes is going to show back up in a TV movie, which is not going to be like a low-budget TV movie. They said that it's going to be like this high-budget, 2-hour-long movie. Yeah, I think 2 hours long, even with the commercials, so the commercials will make it even longer. So, yeah, there's no telling. I'm very excited and looking forward to what's to come with this, universe that they're trying to bake. But I'm definitely excited for what's to come for the rest of this season in The Walking Dead, because I am loving this season so far, and this episode was just masterfully done. And yeah, I love this episode, and I don't know how exactly I feel about Rick. I'm interested in seeing the movies, but at the same time, I kind of just wish they would have ended his character. But it all depends. I'd have to watch the first movie to see how they do it, and that might determine how I feel about the whole overall reasoning to keep Rick Grimes alive. But yeah, I am very excited to see where this all goes, how they write off Maggie, stuff like that. So, there's so much to talk about in the comments. Let's talk about it. Do you agree with me? Do you not? How do you think they're going to handle Maggie's transition off the show, or do you think they're not? Do you think that Judith is going to take the place of Carl in the comics? How do you think they're going to go about the Whispers? Are you excited to see Dan Vogel in The Walking Dead? Because I know I am. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just talk about all in the comments. Do you think Daryl's going to become Rick? Like I said, just so much to talk about, and yeah. So let's just talk about that down there. But I'm gonna give The Walking Dead season 9, episode 5 a 5 out of 5 stars. I know I give every Walking Dead just about, or for this season, about a 5 out of 5 stars, but I'm loving this season. If I had been reviewing the last season, it would be a little bit different. But yeah, I am really enjoying this. I'm really looking forward to where they're going. And yeah, as always, in the description, I have links to my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages. You can click on over there for updates on personal life, things I might be thinking about doing for the channel, just updates about me and the channel, and where we might be going. Also, I might do like little surveys over there to get y'all's opinions on an idea for a video I might be thinking about doing. Also, I might give away some digital copies over there. You never know, so just follow me over there and, just see what happens. I also go live on Instagram and Facebook every now and again, so, if you'd like to come into the live stream and come on camera with me or talk to me over there, then by all means do that, because I would really love that. And yeah, thank you for all the support. If you have not watched all my previous Walking Dead Season 9 reviews, go back and check those out. I have one for every episode for this season. Also, check out all my other reviews, unboxings, collection updates. Check out every video I have on my channel. And yeah, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, because it really does help me out. Also, share it with all your friends, family, everyone that you know, and even that you don't know. And hit that subscribe button for more awesome content like this. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.